You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, let's talk about the National Football League getting blasted, getting called out by ESPN analyst, and for somebody my age, 3-time Super Bowl winning NFL quarterback, Dallas Cowboy Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer Troy Aikman, calling out the National Football League over their weak-ass training camps. Now, he blames a lot of the soft tissue and early season injuries on the weakness of these training camps. I also tend to blame the poor play that we see at the beginning of the year on these weak training camps, and some of the undisciplined football that we see on these weak-ass training camps. Guys, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed to this channel, and check out all the merch, live stream, exclusive live stream once a week over at blackwhitenetwork.com. Troy Aikman thinks easier training camps lead to more early season injuries. Yeah, but it's more like, how did he say it? By the way, he's got a pretty good beer. 8 Beer it's called. Troy Aikman's beer. Actually made an appearance on Landman. I finished Landman this week. God, it was good. Jesus. Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman. Who is this? Michael David Smith at PFT. Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman likes some of the ways the NFL has made the game safer than it was when he was playing. Yeah, guys, he got knocked out and was forced to retire over concussions. But he thinks one rule change designed to reduce wear and tear on players' bodies may actually cause some injuries. Aikman, the color commentator for Monday Night Football, who served as an advisor to the Dolphins, said on the Rodeo Time podcast. Okay, that's on YouTube. Who is this?
I knew someone had gotten.
I don't guess this is Troy Aikman's podcast. Maybe he's at Dale Brisby. Okay, I'll have to check it out. Interesting. Quote, Wichita Falls is the hottest place on earth. By the way, I lived in Henrietta growing up, which is where Troy Aikman is from. I lived there for 6 or 8 months while my dad worked an oil field job out there. Back in those days, he was probably a foreman or a general foreman at that point. Aikman said of the Cowboys training camp location at the end of his career. So they were having training camp in Wichita Falls. Whoa! It's a scorcher out there. Quote, back then you did 2-a-days in that kind of heat, day after day after day. 2 practices a day in full pads. Move that joker to East Texas, all right? Because the humidity in Wichita Falls is way lower than it is where I'm at. I'm going to tell you, 98 degrees and 80% humidity hits different. Now, in fact, I'm trying to move back out that way right now. Now the restrictions, probably for better, players aren't taxed as they were. But Aikman added that there's a trade-off. Players aren't as physically prepared at the start of the season. Quote, I think they only wear pads once a week or one time a day, and they have a walkthrough, and then after that, I don't know how it all reads, but it's a pretty player-friendly. It's pretty player-friendly and favorable. It's very favorable. And it's a trade-off, and he talks about this. And a lot of it, whenever they negotiate the CBA, the owners tend to always win on the financial sides of things. Then the players say, well, all right then we're not going to practice as long. We're not going to practice as often. So then you tend to get concussions when it comes to how much time or concessions when it comes to how much time they're actually at the facilities. I think the only ones who don't have a voice in the negotiations are the coaches. They kind of have to wait until the dust settles and say, all right, just how often do we get them? But some of it is that we see is a lot of the reasons I think we see so many injuries, especially earlier in the year. A lot of soft tissue injuries, a lot of muscle pulls, things of that nature, is the players, they're just not able to train the way they once did. They're not able to callous their bodies as easily. You don't hear that as much in the National Football League. And you heard that callous the body a lot in the 80s and 90s. They got used to getting the shit knocked out of them. Let's put it a different way. They got used to getting crushed. Not that they're not training hard and all that, but it's different training on your own as opposed to being on the football field practicing football movements. Not only that, but you're working on the game. Your practices are actually affecting the quality of the product on the field. Aikman made it clear he's not opposed to changing to promote safety, but he does think the rules can go too far. Quote, player safety is great. As a former quarterback, I do like that they protect quarterbacks. With that said, the objective for the defense is to hit the quarterback and affect the quarterback, and sometimes I think we're asking a lot of these defensive players to try to navigate 300-pound offensive linemen and then not graze the helmet of the quarterback. I think that helmet hit rule in the National Football League is retarded. I mean, they glaze the helmet of the quarterback or brush it, whatever. Even if they, boom, hit a hand up. I mean, come on. Really? And that's coming from a guy that had to retire from concussions. Steve Young, too, essentially. If they played now, everybody that always likes to get after Troy Aikman over his numbers, the way his numbers look, I saw some retard actually try to compare Ryan Tannehill to Troy Aikman. I was like, Ryan Tannehill would have gotten abolished off the face of the earth in the late 80s and 90s brand of football. Okay? No. It wouldn't have happened. It was just a tougher game. But Steve Young and Troy would have probably played 3 or 4 or 5 years. I remember Troy talking about teams calling him like 3 or 4 years after he retired, 5 years after he retired, saying if he wanted to come back and play quarterback. Phillip Rivers said, yeah, you can do that now. So it's not only injuries, it's the product on the field. The lack of practice time, it's a slippery slope downhill, and it all rolls into an avalanche. And it's affecting what you're seeing on the field, both with injuries and with the quality of the product. The product is not what it was. It's not. And I at least like the fact that it looks like the running game's starting to come back. But I guess we're never getting hits back because of the concussion lawsuit. That's what killed all this. And in a lot of ways, one could say the concussion lawsuit kind of killed the NFL and sort of ripped away what it was really intended and supposed to have been. No more jacked up. Troy's right. There's way too many injuries. And they're just not practicing hard enough. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.